The whole equestrian industry needs to be turned upside down.
Your mental health must struggle.
I didn't know what the right direction for myself was.
Are you sure you've never touched a horse inappropriately?
No!
Do you want a louder clap? Give you a louder clap. There we go. That sounded nice.
Love it.
Hello. Welcome to the Only Tools and Horses podcast. This is the first one we'll be doing. Unless we do something completely horribly wrong and then get taken off and we don't do any podcasts anymore. This episode, the first episode, thankfully is sponsored by Half Step. We decided to sponsor ourselves because I think that's probably a safer way of doing it.
We have no other offers.
No, exactly. If we sponsor ourselves, we're not likely to get in as much trouble.
Or offend anyone.
Half Step. Clothing that you can feel confident wearing whenever and wherever. Made to the highest quality and tested rigorously by pro athletes. You can be sure that you can perform at your best. We'll be launching Half Step in November with two technical half zip tops. There we go. I tell you what, it's a good job we didn't practice that and we just went in for the straight improv. So that is Half Step, and we are Only Tools and Horses. That sounded like the beginning of a Top Gear intro. Now ourselves, I'm Ashley. Nice to meet you. And
I'm Josh. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today.
I think the best way for us to start is how we met each other.
Of course.
I mean, it's going back a little bit. I mean, the people, you guys that are listening in, or not, will be going, who are these two random lads who have decided to just speak to a mic for as long as it goes? So yeah, we met each other
in school, didn't we?
I mean, how many years ago?
It must have been about 12, 13. So yeah, about 11, 12 years ago now. Wasn't it? Back at Sackville. Good old days. Playing rugby together.
Oh yeah, of course we played rugby.
Played rugby together.
About that.
What, Sussex Cup winners in year 7.
I think consecutively. I think
year 7, year 9 and 10. 3 out of 5 years.
Yeah.
Something along those lines anyway.
I don't remember being any good at rugby. I just remember being quite aggressive, and that was my form. The teacher just said,
you're on the team.
"Yeah, you just go on the wing and just take someone out, and you'll
best
fine
way
with
to
that."
be beat.
Yeah, I think I that sort of came back at me when we played schools that had guys our age that definitely weren't our age, and then I'd get a little bit aggressive, and then was like put my place very quickly. And was like, yeah, that's where we're going.
Triple the size of you, sort of thing.
No, exactly. But then I left Sackville because we didn't have a friendship for quite a number of years.
I wouldn't even say we were particularly close. We were in different sort of friendship groups, weren't we?
No,
you were in your band and I was in my band, sort of thing. So we came across each other, but at that point in our lives, we weren't the closest of friends. We just knew each other, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then it's just. Yeah, you left and went off and went to Brit.
Yeah, went to Brit, did acting there, and then it wasn't till after. I mean, I was there for 4 years and then came back.
Yeah, you went to uni. You've gone off and done everything like that.
I've tried to do some life.
Yeah,
and I'm here. But then I came back, and I think it was we reconnected through the gym.
Absolutely.
As you can see, I'm an absolute fucking unit. Thanks to your training, but
we try our best.
One of us is more consistent than the other, and I'll let everyone else try and figure out which one is the consistent one here. But yeah, we reconnected through the gym and we trained together, and then we just sort of got back in touch.
Friendship grew, didn't it? We got closer, talked more, saw each other more, and then things all just fell into place, really.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously COVID hit. Everyone massively, and individually careers and businesses, people were massively affected by. But while we're in lockdown, I think over the last 12 months, we've become exceptionally close.
Of course. We were both in a lucky position. You were able to continue, obviously being a firefighter, you were able to continue doing some normality. Yeah. And vice versa with me. I was able to continue doing my job. So at least we were in that lucky position where we had some normality in our lives, because for a lot of people, they weren't, and that allowed us to connect, get closer, and then now here we are, sort of 6-7 months later, really.
It's mental.
Sat on a podcast together.
It's mental. But the original thing before the podcast was even considered, we've created Half Step. We've put months into that, and Half Step is a male equestrian clothing range, which in the future we are looking to include females as well.
Expand. We're just trying to find a niche at the moment, the way into it.
A lot of it has come from the start and struggles that you've had,
of course, yeah,
as a dressage rider.
Yes.
And I just want to talk to you a little bit about that, because I find it fascinating. For me, I am learning so much about the equestrian world.
Yeah.
Even terms that just get thrown around. I'm like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about how you got into horses. What happened in that gap from secondary school, where we were somewhat close but not really close?
Of course.
Because a part of me thinks, how I know you now, you almost, it felt like you was leading a double life.
Yeah, of course. And I guess especially when we first met each other in secondary school, it was like horses isn't cool in secondary school, especially being a guy and doing horses. Just like, you're the joke. You're the person that everyone picks on because you ride horses. So I tried to keep it as separate as possible. I was quite lucky that obviously I did things like rugby and everything else. So I was quite popular in school, and so were you. We're just in different groups and that. So I was quite lucky with that. But at the same time, I was still the brunt of the jokes in my group because I rode horses. But yeah, basically it just all stemmed from mum, really.
Yeah.
Mum had the passion of the horses, and then I don't know, I started riding quite late. It was 7 or 8 years old, which is quite late. A lot of people start younger. Of course, some people start older, but for me personally, it was quite late for me to start wanting to ride anyway. And then it just gradually grew over that. During secondary school, I was riding. I had some success at a young age. And then I was 13, 14 years old. A pony was bought for me. And basically, it turned out to be really good at dressage. And that is how I ended up doing dressage.
So when you say that you did horses, like what is that term? Like, did you just like fall in love with like stroke a horse once and go, right, shit, that looks like a smart idea to get on that absolute monster of a being and then just ride it? Or was
in
it
a way,
dressage?
I knew no different. So I'd grown up around them my whole life because mum rode. So I knew no different. For me, that was normality. And then we ended up moving somewhere, and basically mum had horses. She was a dealer, which is basically you sort of not that sense. A horse dealer.
All right, so, that explains the house.
Exactly.
Lovely.
Yeah, should have like summed that one up. And she bought horses.
Yeah.
Produces them, so tries to improve the horse and then sells them, and you make the profit, obviously. And I ended up just being involved with that riding. And then, like I say, mum bought one horse that she was planning on bringing on and selling, and it turned out to be fantastic at dressage. And I would have been about 13 or 14, and that is what got me into doing dressage.
Right. So dressage, I've learned, is making the horse dance.
Pretty much. The easiest way of summing it up is, yes, you're asking. I know it stems from, like, if you look back at dressage, it was like designed for the military, because you're trying to make the horse literally listen to every command. And obviously when they're on the front line during war, they've got to really listen to what you're asking for. And that's how it originated. And then obviously it's developed over the years to where we are now. And yeah, so that is literally it. I had a talented pony for that. I didn't choose dressage. Dressage chose me. That's how that happened.
Well, so how do you tell that the pony's going to be good at dressage? Did you just go to the stables one morning and you're like, shit, mum, you got to come see this? Like, Bella's in the corner and she's like strutting about and like doing pirouettes.
So it's like anything. Like, obviously you start working with the horse, like riding the horse, and it's like no different to a person at school. You, throughout that time, you work out what that person is good at, whether that's math, English, or they might excel at everything.
Yeah.
Whereas with this horse, it was working on it, and we realised it had a lot of potential for dressage. Right. And by that, what we mean is that it was naturally the way it moves. So it's nothing that is forced. It's the way the horse just naturally is built, and the way of going. Of course, we try to improve that. And that's what dressage is trying to consistently improve.
Right.
But that horse had natural talent for dressage, and that is what then led me to where I am now, really.
No, exactly. So horse riding, anything related with horses,
of course.
From what I've seen. Now, I come from a background where I have nothing to do with horses.
No.
I've found a love for them through you.
Of course.
I didn't realise, how therapeutic they are. There's just a sense of calmness when you're around them.
Yeah.
But at first it was almost like absolute terror. Like they're huge and they're so strong and powerful that will just bowl me over and that's it, done.
Well, you've missed out. For me personally, I grew up with ponies. They start small, and then as you get older and bigger and stronger, then your horses get bigger and stronger because they grow. Well, you end up buying what you need at that time. So you missed out that stage. You've just come to my yard now where I've got 5 dressage horses on the yard that are absolute beasts, basically, in what they are.
So what sort of stuff is it that you say, like, you bought different things for the horses when, like, they were ponies, and, like, what is the sort of financial thing? And these are personal, silly questions.
Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are going to have done, like you, years in the horse industry, and they're going to be like, what are you on about? This is just the basics. For me, I don't understand. I can see that it is not a cheap hobby or career. So how's that affected you? Because that's not an easy thing.
I was very, very lucky. My mum and dad, especially, so I was 13, 14, you're just doing it for fun. Like, my brother was probably riding a little bit back then. Right. And at that age, it was nothing really serious. But then when I started dedicating myself to doing dressage when I was like 14 years old, then you're talking, it's a lot of money for your parents to have to invest in you. I'm talking my lessons that you need at that age, because that's the time that you're developing your riding, especially at that young age. It's fundamental to you being the best that you can be. Like everyone says, when you're a child, it's easier to learn. And of course, the same rule applies in the equestrian world too. So, but like, you're talking lessons, maybe I have 3 or 4 a week, and each lesson's 50, 60 pounds. And that's just me for my training, not looking after the horse, not having the feet done, not having like feed. The list goes on. It's endless. It's absolutely endless. And it's just so expensive for you to run. And that's just one pony, let alone if you have 2.
Wow.
So I was very, very, very fortunate that my mum and dad saw that I wanted to do it and backed me with everything that they could financially afford to do. Like, don't get me wrong, because of that, like, it's very, especially with a non-horsey brother, like, they're spending a lot of money on me, because that's how can they then say to my brother, well,
you can't do this.
Here's a pair of football boots, but that football boot's £120. How many pair of football boots can he get? How many footballs can he get? It doesn't add up. Like, his pair of football boots is 2 lessons that I have within a week.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. So of course I missed out on other things that a lot of people did, because I wouldn't get them brand new clothes and all those little bits and bobs, because I was my full focus at that age was I dedicated myself to doing dressage, and that is what I wanted to do. And I saw nothing else. I was at school till I was just to get through school. I was there for no other reason than just to get through school. I didn't want to be there. Just kept my head down and just did what was necessary. Yeah, got through it, and then as soon as I could, I left school and started working with horses.
Because you're on the yard pretty much. Like, every time I get a call from you, it's like 6:30 in the morning. And I mean, I'm up early, but you are up early. Like, it's a demanding thing.
Of course.
Like,
I think the best way to describe it is, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Having horses, it is a lifestyle. Everything revolves around your horse. If there's a problem with the horse, you're there to sort it out. Especially now it's my job. I have owners. I have half a share in a little yearling that's owned with one of my owners.
A yearling?
Yeah, so a 1-year-old.
Yearling. Oh, right,
yeah,
okay.
yearling.
Right.
So he's 1 year old. So I have half a share in that. But other than that, all the horses on my yard are paying customers. They're clients of mine. So those horses, they have to be looked after to a top level.
Yeah.
Like, I still have aims with my competition career to reach international standards.
Yeah.
If my yard isn't producing international standards, I will never reach international standards with my riding.
No,
It's
exactly.
the way it goes. You have to, yeah.
So are you pro now? Like, you're...
Oh yeah, professional. So
we don't class as pro. Like,
exactly. Yeah, like, your class is professional. So you don't have like amateur. You have amateur riders and professional. It's not like semi-pro. It's professional rider.
Right.
And yeah, so I would have theoretically, I was a professional rider from 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when you're competing. Like, I've been lucky. I've been able to compete against Charlotte Dujardin, which is the #1 dressage rider, and Carl Hester, who's probably the legend of the sport. I've had the opportunity to compete against people like that.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, very lucky, but I can sit here and say my career never really took off as well as I wanted it to, and maybe I didn't reach the potential that I should have either. But that's a
Do you
big can of
think
worms.
There's one bit I'm curious to go back on.
Yep.
You said that your mum and dad, they did a lot financially.
Yeah.
Like they grafted just so you could have the opportunity to be in the horse world.
Of course.
Now, we're not all lucky to come from amazing backgrounds, and we've had to work for it, and there's nothing wrong if you do come from a background where you're lucky enough to have parents that can just straight up provide in that sense. But I'm curious, is there a level of, with the money behind it and the career, like if you don't have the money, it's so difficult to go pro. Like if your mum and dad weren't in a position to work as hard as they have done and still do to help you go pro, is it going to be detrimental for other people getting into that industry?
I guess that's like a very difficult question to answer, because like even for me personally, my parents gave me everything, and I was a very, very small fish in a massive pond. Like back when my pony cost, I think like £2,000 as a project pony, he was competing against ponies that were bought for £250,000.
Yeah.
Like we're talking, there's a massive gap there. Of course, I think in the beginning, yes, definitely. But there's no reason, for example, my pony cost £2,000. Like in the context of horses, that's very cheap. And for what he then went on to do, he done very well for that. He was competing against ponies that were bought for thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of money. So I think money is very, very important, but it's like anything. If you work hard enough, opportunities will come your way. It's just a different route in to the sport. You might have to go off and work as a groom. I worked as a groom when I left school for Sharon Edwards.
So what does siding? A groom? What does a groom?
Like, just looking after horses.
Just looking after.
Yeah, so I literally no riding, just looking after horses, and then I had my horse in livery there at the same time, which a lot of people do. So you're predominantly working for your lessons, almost is what I did, and then from that, my next stepping stone was becoming a rider at a yard, and then I was lucky enough to go to a top international yard at Sarah Millis's, and basically do my university degree there. That's how I looked at it. It was my introduction into the sport, was going to a place of that standard was eye-opening. Changed the way I looked at everything. So it can happen. Like me working as a groom, my mum and dad didn't buy that for me. They didn't put money into that. I had to work there. I did that myself.
Yeah.
I earned the lesson.
You put the hours in.
Yeah, I put the hours in. I got out what I put in that moment. And then again, from that, I then ended up picking up little bits of riding. So I was working at Sharon's, and then I got bits of riding here, there, and everywhere. So like a couple little clients, and I charged like £10-15. But it was enough to pay for my fuel, and me just to get more exposure, ride more horses, because it's no different to any other sport. The more practice you get, the better you're going to be. The more I could ride, the better I was going to be. And then from that, it gave me quite a good fundamental base. I was then doing quite well on the competition side of things. That then led me to have a good enough CV to then apply for a job of that standard. So you can do it. There's no reason why you can't, but it's very hard.
Is it quite a small circle in like the competition circuit?
Yes and no. You see the same faces, and you've got like local shows, then you've got like the big shows, which are all over the country.
So for my benefit, name some of like the local shows, the big shows, because I've never.
No, of course.
I know we've got Hickstead, and that is
to be fair, we've actually just lost Hickstead.
Right. Yeah.
So because with dressage especially, there's things need to change. It needs to go more commercial.
Right.
Because we are losing so many venues.
Yeah.
Because they can't.
Is it because it's like such a niche revenue that they are bringing through?
Yes and no. I think personally the sport is outdated.
Right.
And the only way that I can like refer this to someone that doesn't know horses is if you get a rapper.
Yeah.
They'll rap whatever they do. They always end up going commercial to then improve themselves and be able to be accessible to everyone. Dressage is such a small niche that how can you make that more entertaining for more people to want to see it?
Yeah.
You've got to go more commercial and think about opening the sport up rather than keeping it so small that no one like knows about it. So unless like Charlotte, when she's done amazing at the Olympics and won gold medal after gold medal, that we got some exposure. But after that exposure dies down, the sport then just dies, and like we're losing venues. That Hickstead is an international showground. We've lost the dressage at an international showground because the funding's not there. Right. So something's going wrong But it takes someone to step back and actually like think, okay, we've got to do something to try and make this better. But I can't do that. Like, that's the top people in the sport that need to take a look at the sport and go, okay, we've got to change with the times.
So what has Hixley got now? So they've just taken dressage.
Yeah, so basically the arenas that were there for the everyday dressage are gone. So I'm not sure what they're now doing with it. I don't know.
Because you do it in like a little sand pit, don't you?
Yeah, basically, 20 by 60 arena.
Right.
So they have 2 warm-up arenas, 20 by 60, and then 2 competition arenas, 20 by 60 again. So that's 4 arenas for the dressage that they had there. And it was like awesome that we had so many shows there. Like, for me personally, I have like such an attachment to that place. That's where I grew up. That was like an international competition that I never got to compete internationally there, but I got to ride at an international.
You could knock on the CV and say,
exactly.
I've done that.
Yeah, I was able to compete at a venue where I watched Edward Gull and Totalas compete there. Like, that was, I remember being 13 and 14 years old, and seeing the horse like of dressage at that time, the most amazing creature that anyone had ever seen.
Yeah,
breathtaking. I got to watch him, and then 4 years later, I'm competing in that same arena at that event, not in the international, but like, it's crazy. And then now I'm look back and it's not even there anymore.
No. So you mentioned a couple of names. Again, I know very little. I've got an auntie that rides horses, and that is probably the closest connection I've got to horses. My younger cousins, they've got their
and of course your uncle went to the Olympics 3 times for Netherlands.
He was. I was going to say he was a chef, but he wasn't a chef. He was. But
I think he ended up chef to keep somewhere. But yeah,
that means nothing to me. I don't know what that means. But what sort of names, like, you say football, you go Ronaldo, Messi. Yeah. You know the big names. Of course. Who are the people in the horse industry that you look up to, that you go, those are the names? And you go, right,
of course. So when I mentioned Edward Gull just then, like, at that time, he changed dressage. That horse, Totalas, was breathtaking. It was like he was breaking world record after world record after world record. And then 5-6 years later, Charlotte Dujardin comes on the scene with Vallegro and does the exact same thing.
Right.
World record broken, gold medal. So those are people that Charlotte is obviously probably the best ever dressage rider seen.
Right.
She wins absolutely everything. Full credit to herself. She's put herself in the position. And then you've got Carl Hester again, who's a massive name within the sport, who people would say, like, he's changed the sport to where it is now. He's brought so much to it. He's the one that produced Charlotte Dujardin. I know Judy Harvey also helped Charlotte along the way, but he gave Charlotte the opportunity with that horse Vallegro to become what she now is, which is a star of the sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carl and Charlotte are the legends, and they'll go down in history for Great Britain with dressage. Edward Gull, he competes for Netherlands, so but he's absolutely, for me personally, I looked up to him when I was younger. Massively looked up to him. I thought he was the most amazing rider. So, and again, like I say, at that time he was breaking world record after world record after world record. So.
Yeah. And these guys, these are all dressage, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then you see loads of different. So you've got dressage, show jumping. There's loads of different, even up to polo.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, but their whole foundation is horses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I'm trying is it like a small circle as well between them? Like,
do they all
know each other in the different sports?
Maybe the eventing and dressage can cross over, because
is there like much rivalry between the two?
Not really, because you don't really come across each other, to be honest. Yeah. Like, show jumping is so different from dressage. Of course, you have that. You can relate to eventing because they have obviously it's 3 stages. They have the dressage, the show jumping, and the cross country. And obviously the dressage, a lot of people. Well, actually, the whole of the eventing lot will train with a dressage trainer for the dressage and a show jumping trainer for the show jumping, because they're doing all 3.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
It's no different to like the Olympics, where they have like the 100 meter, and they do that.
Yes, they might as well just train together for the sake of training together, because they're doing it anyway.
Exactly. So they'll be learning from the best dressage rider to try and improve their dressage, and the best show jumper, in their opinion, trainer for the show jumping, and then obviously they go and do the cross country as well from probably an eventer.
Right. Changing it completely.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly, but more or less completely. Going back to when you was in secondary school, having you told me a little bit more about what it's like in the industry and what is the dedication it has to be a horse, not just a career horse rider, but a horse owner. How what's the nitty gritty of how that affected you going through school?
It was hard, definitely hard, because even it goes to like social events, you couldn't really go to them because you're competing and stuff. It was definitely hard because you're an outsider, aren't you? you're that kid that rides horses. That's not cool, especially when it's like being a guy. It's football, rugby, this, and you're like, oh yeah, might not be able to play for football on the weekend because I've actually got a competition with horses. Like, doesn't really quite add up, you know. So of course it was hard. Like, I think that now I'm still around the same sort of people, and then they have mad respect for what I do now because they've seen progress from back at school. But
do any of them ride horses? The people that you grew up with?
No. Because I didn't really like. I had a couple of people, like guys that I got on with in the dressage industry, but they ended up giving up or not doing it anymore. And that's we have like a scheme for young riders, so that's where you sort of like meet up from all different regions, like northern region and stuff like that. Obviously I was southern, and then you go to like the big under 25 national championships, and I would see familiar faces and I got on with them, but that was so far apart. You know,
it was almost like a hobby between real life.
Yeah, exactly.
You see them at different events.
It's not like I'm gonna go, oh yeah, I've got a friend who's up north that I ride with. I'm not gonna go see him. I've got my friends at school that I chill with and stuff. So.
No, I get that. It's the same as with me in the acting. Like, I having gone from our school and then to Brit and then to East 15. I've got people that are scattered. I've had a mate that was doing a global tour of Warhorse, and then I've got a mate that's down in Hastings, and one in Bournemouth, and one that's round the corner to me. Like, they're so scattered, so it's difficult to say where it is. And I feel like progression friends have just sort of dipped in and out of life. I've got consistence, but they're all from different walks of life. Completely. It's difficult because I'm exactly the same as you with school. I don't think I see many people, bar a few, and those are the people we've reconnected together.
It's the same for you as well. Obviously, you are working on your acting at that point. It's no different. Like, acting, being a guy and acting, when you're at secondary school, no guy's going to go, oh yeah, that's really cool. Of course, you get grief for it.
I definitely had a few stereotypes chucked at me, and it does make it difficult because you're almost put in a box straight away.
Yeah,
and then
because of doing one thing that makes you that. But that goes back to being 14 or 15 years old and not being able to understand anything in life, really.
No, massively. I do look back on it, and it is definitely an age thing. Like, if I know what I know now, I would have so many words of advice.
Yeah, exactly.
So many words to give to myself. That probably also would have kept me out of trouble as well.
Yeah.
But
it's how you approach it all, isn't it? Like, you don't understand, so you don't know how to do anything different.
The more other people are defining you, the more you actively try to rebel that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I definitely did that.
No,
I mean, from a young age, I definitely put on a hard man persona, and I'm not a hard man. Like
to make up for the fact that you're doing your acting, so you thought you had to compensate so much for the acting. It's no different than the riding. You felt that you had to go above and beyond because you did that to like make up for doing that you had. So you went the complete opposite way to try and fit in.
Pendulum it.
Yeah.
100%.
Because all we want to do in secondary school at that age is fit in. That's all you want to do is try and fit in.
I'm 23 years old and I'm still trying to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just accept me. But I mean, what sort of stereotypes were actually thrown at you? Because I don't know if they're similar to mine. I mean,
of course. Like, stereotypically, a guy that does horses are gay.
Yeah.
And the one that always was thrown at me, you shag your horses.
That's a very weird one.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that was a stereotype.
That was always because...
Is that a thing? Do many people shag their horses in the industry?
No.
You took a moment. You did take a moment.
I didn't.
Are you sure you've never touched a horse inappropriately?
No, exactly. I didn't take that seriously. At 23 years old, you're asking me, do that. I was like, that's back to like school days. No, not.
You've grown out of touching horses.
Yeah, absolutely. But because obviously you're riding horses, like the first thing that people be is like, you shag your horse.
Yeah.
Like, great, fantastic. What do you want me to say back to that? And that's it.
They're not exactly very educated comments that get thrown at you.
No, completely. It's absolutely. It's like anything that is detrimental.
So if you ride horses, you're clearly gay and you shag your horse.
Absolutely. Those were the two things that straight away were stereotypical things that I was told. Like, that was it, and you're just like, great.
But you're straight and you don't shag horses.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that I need to sum that one up.
No, exactly. I mean, if you're watching on the cameras, this photo is actually from my bedside table. This is sort of Josh. This is actually from mine that I personally bring in. I've got a thing for Josh. That's my way of going through it. But yeah, we had quite a similar experience going through school, and it was the same as with acting. I mean, I was you must be gay. You must be quite a bit camp. You can't do the masculine sports,
no.
And hence why I think I got into rugby. It was a way of getting out.
Yeah, absolutely, compensate.
Exactly, and it's a weird one because I would then go to Brit and like so many guys are straight, and there is gay guys there, and the people that are from the outskirts that give that as almost like, even though it's a stereotype, it doesn't bother me. You can call me gay you want, like I care at all.
No, exactly.
But I've met so many people that it's a shame that is the stereotype. They're using that as a negative stereotype.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm sure, like me, you've met tons of gay guys that I've got
from
loads
all
of gay
walks of life,
friends that are exceptionally close friends, and their sexuality it's not even a talking point.
It's not because of them doing a certain thing either that makes them gay either.
No.
That's crazy, but
you're a straight guy in a predominantly female dominated industry, no?
You'd like to think so, I guess. Definitely when I was younger. As I get older, not so much, I would say. Like, definitely when I was younger, I was like, especially when you're doing the young rider competitions and stuff like that, I was one of like a few guys, and it was just female dominated completely, especially at a young age.
So you must have been a lucky young lad.
A lucky young guy. Maybe.
I'm sure there's some stories we'll revisit.
Yeah, maybe I won't say them on camera.
No, I think that's probably the safest bet.
Not to say that on camera.
But a lot of the things that I'm learning here that you've really had to graft and fight, and it's a really demanding career to go into, and you've actively gone into that knowing that the early mornings, the financial stress, then just the nerves and pressure to even perform, let alone I mean my girlfriend's in we all know that she's working at a equestrian veterinary clinic, and I didn't realise the amount of issues that horses can have. So then even though that is your career and almost like your car, like how many problems you have with that on top of that.
No different to Formula One.
So the stress of course must be insane. Like how's that affected you over time? Like there must be times where your mental health must struggle with that.
Now being 24 years old, like the last 7 years were hard, definitely very hard. Had some good times and bad times, but a lot of things are out of your control. You're reliant on a horse like that has its own brain to try and achieve something the whole time. So whether they pick up an injury, whether on that day they don't perform to their best, there's so many factors that end up like contributing towards whether it's success or a negative. And again, making that transition when I was 16, it was my hobby. Now it's my job. I earn a living from it, and people are paying me to ride a horse. I used to do it for fun. I don't do it for fun anymore.
No,
I've got to earn a living. This is my living. So that pressure from making that massive step from hobby to job, has like massive, absolute massive. And I don't think, because you're so caught up on it at that moment in time and making that transition, you're like, oh look, I've got rides, I've got owners now, fantastic, I'm earning money, and I was really lucky. I earned good money at a young age, that you don't actually realise the stress and pressure that you're under, and you just continue, and then I just had a massive breakdown. Couldn't deal with it anymore, because I was going to competitions and I would go down the centre line and I'd have 2 horses in one class, and I'd be like, oh well, no matter how well I do, someone won't be happy because I will win on one horse and I'll be lower on the other. So what's the point? Like, I did this to compete, because I wanted to be the best competition rider. Now I don't like going down the centre line at that point in my life, whereas now I just have, being older and looking at things and learning as well, massively learning over the last 6 or 7 years, like you have a different outlook on it. But it was hard. It's so hard because there's so many fundamental factors to horses that you were never prepared for. I didn't know. I was learning on the job.
Yeah.
And I had different pressures, people pulling me in different directions, but I didn't know what the right direction myself was. So I just couldn't deal with that stressful pressure. And I basically just had a breakdown, pretty much.
Is there anything or anyone in the industry that can help change that? Because I feel like it's probably something that a lot of people go through, and they probably not talked about.
No, exactly. This personally is really close to me because I felt I had no one to look up to or no one could understand, especially for me, is I was doing an elite sport that I didn't feel like I particularly fitted into. And then I had my school friends that I was always trying to fit in at school. So I was constantly being torn between two, but I didn't know which direction to go in. And I didn't have anyone to speak to because...
Did you not feel like you could speak to your friends about, was that just because they wouldn't understand?
They wouldn't understand. Like, half of them think I race. Like, they think I'm a jockey, you know? Like, that's as far as that conversation's gone. So how can I say, I'm just not really sure where it's all headed or where it's going. Because it's a female-dominated sport, I don't really have any male role models to look up to or speak to. My trainers and people around me were all female people, which is brilliant. I was lucky for that. But at the same time, I can't think like they think or be like what they are. So it tore me in so many different directions. And I just didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know the stress, the pressure, dealing with owners, competition career, trying to keep friends. And it just all ended badly, basically.
Is there anything that you think there's a way of handling that you can offer out as advice? Like, is there anything that the industry can do? Is there anything that you can help to suggest for listeners to do that? Potentially, if you've got a young 14, 15-year-old girl, boy, whatever, who is going through the sport, having the stress of getting up at 5, 6 every morning, 12-hour days, working, then they've got the pressure of, are they doing enough? Have they got enough money coming through to make sure these horses can live, have the best functional life? Then they've got to worry about their career. What is the stuff that you think can change for the industry that could like proactively change as of tomorrow? Like, let's just pull your finger out and just do it, or what you can offer to that?
Well, personally, I think the whole equestrian industry needs to be turned upside down, and they need to realise that the youth programs they need to prepare them for stress, pressure, and how you deal with owners, and like making a living in sport. They don't do that. So I've been on so many youth programs. No one had prepared me for anything. They just told me, you ride, try and be healthy, try and be fit. Great, fantastic. I knew that anyway. But you could have prepared me in some way to know how you deal with multiple owners that you're working on, riding their horses and managing your like books and everything, that how you can make a living out of your career.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of sports, like, you don't have to teach or anything to earn a living. With a professional footballer, you just play for your club and that's your salary done. Whereas I have to ride multiple horses to earn my living. There's so many different things with that. So for me personally, the industry needs to be flipped upside down. They need to actually invest in the next generation and nurture them through and manage them dealing with the stress and pressure, because you don't have anyone there for that unless you do it off your own back again. Like, you pay for a psychologist. I had sports psychologists. I've had hypnotherapy. It was great at the time, but it was too late. The problems had happened. Yeah. So for me personally, the biggest thing that I could tell anyone is no horse is too good to put up with a bad owner, because that is what I went wrong. I had good horses and bad owners.
Yeah.
And when there's one weed, it spreads. So that little bit of negativity from that one owner just broke me. Especially at a young age, when I'm 18, 19 years old, I'm dealing with grown adults and getting grief from them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not performing to my best, in their opinion, or they want me to do something slightly differently. Yet I'm being paid to do my job. And my job is to prepare the horse the best.
So take it, owners is quite an interesting thing, because it's almost like you're self-employed and you do your own thing in the yard and you train these horses up, but owners own the horse.
Exactly.
One that it's difficult, because I presume like almost like a pet that you generate an attachment to that animal.
But I could go home now and all the horses on my yard could have been taken by their owners if they wanted to.
So owners are quite a difficult thing to deal with.
Of course,
I mean, I've met some of the owners of the horses on your yard. They're absolutely lovely. But
and that's what I've made sure is that I've had to really cut back on the owners that I have around me and make sure that they're good people around me, because if they're bad, I can't perform to the best of my ability. So why I wanted to do the sport was to have a good competition career. If I've got bad owners around me, that's not going to happen, even if they're giving me the top horses, because it affects me so negatively.
No, you got to surround yourself with the best positive people possible. It's a positive mindset, positive people. It's why I'm best friends with you, and we consistently every other 10 minutes.
It's all about mentality. Yeah. All about mentality. And as we, like, all it takes is a little bit of negativity. Like, I remember being up at a competition and one owner just broke me. I had 4 horses there. So not only did it ruin their horse, it ruined every single other ride I had up there, because it broke me, because I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then
how did they break you? Go on, can you...
I can't really go into detail. It's just more negative comments the whole time. And it's just... like being so distant, not interacting, just making the whole thing really awkward for a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, it's not what a 19-year-old should have to deal with.
Do they? I mean, it feels like a common occurrence. Owners have some owners have that mentality. Do they not see past the fact that you're a young lad trying to make a career, or is there a level of class that's involved in that it's almost you're beneath them, and that is an exterior
I don't think so, because at the end of the day, they're coming to me because they think that I'm good to ride their horses. Yeah. But it's like anything. If they feel it should be done in a certain way, they think they're paying me, so I should do it like that. I think it's no different to anything. But at the end of the day, I'm the professional.
Yeah.
Let me do me, and you'll see the benefits. And people that have let me do me see the benefits. But it's when people start putting in, oh, you should be doing like this. Why don't you train with her? Just a recipe for disaster, really.
On a cheerier note, because I think we got down very deep and gritty to it there. You're a TikTok sensation. Let's not beat around the bush. Everyone's here looking at you going, we're in the presence of a celebrity. You're what, on how many followers now on TikTok?
Hopefully about 40,000.
Right, so 100,000 after this comes out, and everyone starts flooding.
Hopefully, we'd like that, wouldn't we?
So, how did that come about? Because that you sort of breach between TikTok and the equestrian world, which is quite
a massive leap, really. Yeah. Massive leap, especially. So I don't know. I think my girlfriend at the time just sort of like, oh, why don't you sort of do this? And I was like, oh, okay. Like I was one of them. I wasn't really into my social media. I didn't even understand how important it is nowadays. And I sort of did it, and then did one video, and next thing you know, you got 500,000 views on it, and it's gone completely viral, just like a lot of people experienced during that time. And then just grew from there, really, and just had a natural, like, not natural. You're just then in that position where you're like, I've gone viral. I now have gained followers. I've now got to try and produce content.
You have that stress and pressure of consistently
exactly, which is crazy, because I never wanted to do it anyway. But then I'm like, oh my God, like, I've got followers. I now need to produce content that's going to go viral. And
what do I produce? What do I put out there?
Of course. So that just, again, that was a massive learning curve, because I didn't know anything about social media. It became just, I was obsessed with it.
Your DMs must be absolutely flooded. Sometimes, I say that rhetorically, almost like to the audience, as if to go, oh, are they? I know for a fact they are. I've seen them.
Dear. A lot of bad as well as good, but there we go.
Yeah, I mean, you're under the microglass that you're being watched on social media of this industry. Do you feel, because your persona that you put on TikTok? Yeah. Would you say that is you?
No, it's an act.
Many a conversation about this previous.
It's an act, of course it is. The best way I could describe it, of course, is part of me. Of course, it's a part of me.
Yeah.
But it's an act. I'm not going to showcase who I am on social media, because no one does. I'm just portraying what I felt at that time would go viral. Some people like it, some people don't. But don't judge me off a 10-second video. That's not me. And I'm not once have I said in that video, this is me, this is who I am. All I'm trying to do is jump on a trend and try and make it go viral. That's all I'm trying to do.
No, exactly.
And of course, some people like it, some people don't. But
I think it is also a part of you, but it's a part of you that is one of many.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that's the best way to do it. Yeah. And I've just exaggerated that from the fact, of course.
It's a caricature. I thought I'd really struggle saying that word, but it's an emphasis of what a part of what you are.
Is, of course.
Yeah, and like I say, that social media is so eyes on. Like, everything you do is judged.
Of course, like we were speaking about a couple of days ago. I'm getting so much hate on one video. And it's not even a video where I'm acting or anything. It's just a behind the scenes shoot of a photo shoot that I was doing.
Yeah.
And crazy the amount of hate that I've got on that. Crazy. And you're like,
but they're giving you hate and from their phone and computer, but they're not actually the one on a photo shoot.
No, of course.
TikTok has now actually allowed you to have opportunities. We've got our own thing. We've got Half Step, and we've got the clothing coming out next month. We've got the podcast that we're doing. But aside from you and your own professional career, TikTok has given you so much.
It's amazing what it has done, of course, and that's what you have to. But it's what you have to look at, like being signed by SRPR management. Like, thank you so much, Scott, for everything you've done for me. Just Zebra products, and Uvex, they've sponsored me. Got the hat literally this morning.
So Uvex, what do you? Is that just a horse brand, or do they do other things?
They do other things. They do like cycling. I can't really say too much more because I don't know, but I know they do cycling and loads of other sports. We've got like Harry Dabbs there that they've supported me from a young age and everything. But
Harry Dabbs, know them well only because we use them in the promo.
Yeah, absolutely. They were using the promo video, so
that's coming out soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holland Brothers Productions.
But yeah, like so many opportunities. I've just been like done some modelling now that again I never thought I would do. So yeah, brilliant. But again, it comes back to that what we were saying earlier about it takes one weed.
Yeah.
That and all it is, it's just you end up catching yourself just reading all these negative comments. But you can't help it. It's like a drug. You get addicted to just reading negative comments and it's just plays on it. But again, like I say, I never wanted to go viral. Just did it for a bit of fun and then it just ended up going crazy. And now I'm in this position where I've got 40,000 followers, but it's just more pressure and stress added to it because you feel you've got to create content.
Yeah.
And now again from that, then Instagram sort of took a massive leap. I've got a nice following on there. So thank you so much to everyone that follows me. Really appreciate it. Do really appreciate it. Especially in the nice comments. I like them, yeah? More nice comments, please.
They can stay.
But yeah.
We're in a lucky, both of us through this, we're in a very lucky position. I mean, this episode, we've really gone, I wanted to find out more about the horse industry. And for me, we are going on this journey as best mates and developing these companies to give back to people, but I'm interested to learn more about the equestrian following, the people that have had a love for this and a passion from this. And I can understand, like, through the little that I've learned, why it's such a big thing, but it's not actually as commercially talked about.
No.
So I'm interested to hear from the people that follow you and the people that are going to follow us and follow the journey of the podcast and Half Step, and
of course
hopefully give something back. I mean, we've got some amazing guests already lined up to come on and speak, and
absolutely
fine. I'll learn more, and we'll both learn more, and
exactly. And it plans as well to try and do something to try and change things, because that is the problem with this sport. It's outdated. Not enough is done, and
it needs changing.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
2020, that's the year. I mean, we've had everything else. So might as well.
Exactly.
2020, COVID,
some
let's change ourselves.
Needs to happen. So, look,
we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Last thing I think the best way to sort of round it off on is going through. We've had a lot of a darker conversation at points and how much of a struggle it's been. If you could have a moment with your younger self, and I'm asking this preferably and specifically for the younger listeners that have gone or are going through everything that you have been through, and you are sitting here having been a success. What is that one bit of advice you'd give to your younger self and the younger listeners?
Okay, and from a riding point of view or life?
Both. Just give it all.
Both. Okay, from a riding point of view, the biggest bit of advice that I can do is just keep working hard. Like, no matter what. Horses, you have more downs than ups, but keep going. Like, honestly, you've got to keep going, because when you get them ups, those are the best moments that you'll ever have. I still remember every single win that I've had, like at top shows. Now, just easy, can reel them off. So just keep going, keep working hard. And from a life point of view, there's so much more to social media. That is the biggest thing I could tell anyone. Biggest thing. And I think me and you have really learned that recently.
Yeah.
How detrimental it can be from what we've come across personally. So just what you see on social media really isn't true. Like I've said with the TikTok videos, it's not me.
You're playing a character.
I'm playing a character. So what you see is not real. So please don't get caught up on social media, because yes, there's so much good, but there's so much bad from it too.
Love that. Well, let's round it up there. Thank you everyone for listening. This has been a really fun and enjoyable experience to film, and it's the first of many. So please like, share, follow, do all the rest of it. Spread the word.
Check out Ashley's Insta.
We'll put all links to social medias, company pages. They'll all be somewhere.
And thank you for all the support that we've had from everyone so far with what we're doing and what we're trying to do so far. And hopefully here's to much more.
Love, brother. So much peace. Oh, we've done it. There we go. So what? Let's go get drunk now. That was a long chat.
And cut.